Starting Algebra 2 this fall, before you jump into quadratics, exponentials, logarithms, and rational expressions, let's make sure your Algebra 1 foundation is solid. In this video, you'll test yourself on 4 skills your Algebra 2 teacher expects you to know on day 1. I'll give you a problem, try it on your own before I solve it. If you can't solve it in about 30 seconds, that's okay because you've just discovered what to review this summer. Let's begin. Skill 1, multi-step equations. So go ahead and pause the video and try this out first. Alright, now let's solve it together. First things first is to distribute on both sides. So we have 2 being distributed to 3x and to -1. And so on the left we have 6x minus 2 plus 4 equals, and then we're distributing 5 to x and to positive 2. And that gives us 5x plus 10 minus 7. Now here you're going to combine like terms. So let's do that. And that is 6x plus 2 equals 5x plus 3. And of course for this next step here, you're going to subtract 5x on both sides. So subtracting 5x on the left and on the right. On the left we have x plus 2. Bring down your equal sign, 5x minus 5x cancel out, and bring down your 3. Now we have x plus 2 equals 3, and solving for x, we're subtracting 2 from both sides, and x equals 1. Okay, and that is our answer. But I would suggest checking your work. So what we're going to do here is substitute. And so since x equals 1, and if you go back to the original problem, we're going to place 1 where you see the x. So let's do that. And that is 2 times 3 times 1 minus 1. And then plus 4 equals 5 times 1 plus 2 minus 7. Okay, so be careful here. All right, so we have 2 and then on the outside, but then we have 3 times 1 minus 1 and closed in parentheses here. All right, so 3 times 1 is 3 and 3 minus 1 is 2. So enclose that 2 in parentheses. So we have 2 times 2 plus 4 equals 5. And we have 1 plus 2 in parentheses here. So that is 3. So enclose that 3 in parentheses because that is multiplication right here. 5 times 3 minus 7. Okay, so continue solving. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 4 equals 5 times 3 is 15 minus 7. 4 plus 4 is 8 equals 15 minus 7 is 8. So x equals 1 works. Final answer. Okay, so if this problem felt difficult, I would say spend some time reviewing distribution, combining like terms, and solving equations. And you'll see these same solving steps inside rational equations, systems, and quadratic problems. So let's move on to skill number 2. Try this problem on your own, then come back and check your answer. So let's find a common denominator. The least common denominator is 4, which means we need to rewrite 1/2 as 2/4. We have -3/4 plus 2/4, which equals -1/4. And that's the final answer. Now, if fractions slow you down, Algebra 2 will feel much harder than it really is. Now let's try a sign problem. So pause the video and try this out. Okay, so we have a negative times a negative. And a negative times a negative is a positive, which means negative 6 times negative 3 is positive 18. And 18 plus 4 equals 22. And that's the final answer. And I will say this here. Most Algebra 2 mistakes are not Algebra 2 mistakes. There are actually arithmetic mistakes hiding inside bigger problems. So these sign and fraction skills do show up everywhere in Algebra 2, especially when working with rational expressions and more complex problems. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to skill number 3. See if you can factor this expression before I do. So ask yourself, what numbers multiply to 12 and add to 7? Well, those numbers are 3 and 4. So I'll just go ahead and write 3 and 4. So I'll rewrite the trinomial in the form of binomials. And so that is x plus 3 times x plus 4, which is the final answer. But I will also suggest checking by multiplying back. All right, so that means you're going to multiply x times x, which is x squared. So I'll just go ahead and write that here. That is x squared. Multiply x times 4, which is 4x. Multiply 3 times x, which is 3x. And finally, multiply 3 times 4, which is 12. Combine like terms. 4x plus 3x is 7x. So as you can see, we are right back where we started from. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, so now let's go the other direction. So we have 4x plus 12. Okay, so find the greatest common factor. Well, both terms share a factor of 4, which means we can factor out a 4. And that is 4 times x plus 3. Okay, so when you multiply this back out, you have 4 times x, which is 4x, 4 times 3, which is 12. Bring that together, that is 4x plus 12. So Algebra 2 assumes you can move back and forth between expanded form and factored form. So you'll use factoring constantly when solving quadratics and simplifying rational expressions. So let's move on to skill number 4. Find the slope and y-intercept on y equals 2x minus 3. So take a moment to identify both values. So remember, the slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And m represents the slope, b represents the y-intercept. Now let's compare the equation. So in this case, the slope is given to us as 2, and the y-intercept, and I'll just abbreviate that, is given to us as negative 3. And so what this means is the line crosses the y-axis at negative 3, and from there move up 2 and right 1. I will say that linear functions are the foundation for graphing quadratics, exponentials, and other Algebra 2 functions. So with that, let's go ahead and check to see how many you've gotten correct. Here is the Algebra 2 readiness check. Remember, this is not a grade. It's simply a way to identify what to practice before school starts. Leave a comment below and tell me which skill gave you the most trouble. That might become the next video. So anyway, thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for more calm, clear math lessons right here on Math by TV.